Hello, rainy day midweek chat part 2. Last week it was, I had my cool rain hat on. Actually, I probably don't need this because I'm under the shelter of some oak trees and some pine trees. If it rains, I got it. Getting a haircut Friday. Not that you needed to know that, but I wanted to get a haircut close to when I went to the Middle East. So I scheduled it for Friday. Anyway, hey. Midweek chat, welcome, and I have a bunch of parish news, some other things too. While it's fresh in my memory, I just read an article about one of my favorite saints, St Teresa of Avila, also known as St Teresa of Jesus. Her feast day is October 15th. And what was written about her was her body is on display. So she lived, I'm not sure the year she died exactly, but she lived in the 1500s. So getting close to 500 years ago, right? And did I do my math right there? I think so. And, quick digression. I saw a headline about Pope Leo, and it said he was chosen to lead the church into the year 2033. And I was like, 2033, why is that so important? And so it'll be the 2000th anniversary of Jesus' death and resurrection. So I'm going to make a big deal out of that. I hope we all do. That sounds like a great year to celebrate, So 2033, God willing, I would be ordained. I see. 90. I don't want to do the math. That's what, 8 years from now? So I'd be 69. So I'd still be in active ministry because we can retire when we're 70. So could be my last full year as a pastor somewhere. Who knows? On the 2000th anniversary of Jesus' death and resurrection. So anyway, I think that was pretty cool. So, and this year is the 1700th anniversary of the Creed. I believe in one God, the Father Almighty. So anyway, but I think this 2033 would be really great. I look better with my hat on because my hair is so wild. Am I vain? Probably. I don't mean to be. So I just don't, want you to think I'm ungroomed. So back to Teresa of Avila. Okay, so her body, have you ever heard of incorrupt bodies? So over the history of the church, it's a sign of sanctity. So, in fact, there's one of those novels, Brothers Karamazov. There was this really holy man, Father Zosima, and he died, and then his body started to decay and smell, and everyone was so scandalized because they thought he was so holy. His body would not decay and smell like a non-holy person's. So it made its way into Western literature and a masterpiece. But in general, I remember the first one I saw, I was in Rome with a friend, and he had a group of nuns that he knew, and we went to visit their mother house. And we walked in, and right in the main lobby, there was a glass coffin with a dead body in it. And it was like their foundress. It wasn't St. Teresa of Avila. But I thought, well, how strange is this? I was completely unprepared. I didn't know such things existed. I guess it's pretty well attested that some bodies don't decay. I don't really know the science of it, but they're called incorrupt. They don't corrupt, they don't decay and turn into dust. I suppose they would if they were exposed to air or buried. Anyway, St. Teresa, she's in an urn, which is like a sealed casket, but it was not like an urn that we think of with ashes, but a full body. And I saw some pictures of it today. It was on display, like it was the third time since her death that it was opened and people could look at her body. And there's pictures of it on the internet if you care to. But pretty well preserved. You can see her foot, and the foot bones and the skin and the toes and her face. It's all kind of there. And maybe it's an odd way to start the chat, but I just read that. And one of the quotes that I liked was, it's important to, revere the bodies of the saints because in that body is where she encountered God. I read another quote. It was Pope Leo. He said that the Lord Jesus is not ashamed of our bodies now, mine and yours, because when we love him, he is pleased to dwell in our bodies with his Father. That was a homily on last weekend's gospel, that those who keep my word, my Father and I will dwell in that person. And I love what Pope Leo, he took that to mean like that he's not ashamed of our bodies, and even in our weakness, in our bodies that are not perfect and get sick and sometimes lead us into more trouble than good, that he's not ashamed to dwell in us. And he took the form of us. He became human himself. So it's a strange thing, maybe, that we have relics. We have, we save parts of saints' bodies and they're put in altars and things like that. But I love St Teresa of Avila. And I thought, well, I didn't really even know she had an incorrupt body. So it was on display in Madrid, Spain, for about, I think, 2 weeks, from May 11th to May 25th. And they just kind of sealed it back up. And 90,000 people came to see it. I would have gone to see it if I was in the area. I think that'd be cool. But she was, maybe for a book club, I've been wanting to do it ever since I started book club. Maybe we can read her autobiography. It won't be this summer. This summer we're going to read one called Lion of the Church, Pope Leo. I just looked at, sometimes, to make a little money, I'm sure, but people crank out a biography right away of Pope Leo. That one looked like a pretty good one by a reputable author, and not too slanted, I don't think, ideologically either way, and he had good sources. So that'll be our book club. August 13th, we'll discuss it. It'll be in your newsletter, which sent out today. Maybe you got it already if we had your email or your text. I think it just went to email, Flocknote. I think I got it in a text today before I left. So Teresa of Avila, she those tough years in the 1500s when Martin Luther, and there's all this people breaking away from the church, starting their own churches, the church, trying to hang on and not splinter, and St. Teresa of Avila was a real spiritual leader. She thought her order was getting too lenient, her Carmelites, that they're being a little soft, and so she, for example, said we shouldn't wear shoes. And that's why her Reformed order was called the Discalced Carmelites. Discalced apparently in Latin means without shoes. So a little more rigorous with their bodily penance and practices. But I really loved reading her autobiography as a seminary student. She just kind of laughed at herself, and she would talk about levitating, and all the sisters would have to come and hold her down, and she'd get kind of irritated with the spirit for making her float. It was like, and I don't know what to make of that, but it seems so sincere. I mean, it's like, and I believe, some of the saints' legends and stories, some that I really believe for sure. I believe that, and I believe St. Francis got the stigmata in his hands and his feet and his side. I mean, with real, I guess nothing's certain in this world, but I really have firm faith that those things happened. But she would talk about prayer and how our lives are like prayer. Forming a prayer life is like a garden, and at first trying to form a discipline of prayer can be difficult. It'd be like going down the river here in your gardens 50 yards inland and taking a bucket and watering your garden, then coming back, getting another bucket full and watering the garden. Yeah, it's laborious, right? He said when you get in the practice more, then it's maybe more like you have an irrigation system, and there's you dig a little channel that gets the water closer to the garden or even in the garden, and then prayer becomes easier. You become habituated to it. It becomes a good habit in your life. There was a third one, I think, and then her fourth said when you really got it, when you really developed as a person of prayer, it's like you're the garden, and you just sit there and let it rain on you. Let it rain, like today. So it's a good day to talk about Teresa of Avila. And that would be like the prayer of contemplation, where you just enjoy God's grace, God's goodness, and you just are being with God. You're not like struggling to figure out, well, why does this happen, or what do I have to do? Or that can be part of prayer too, but it's just that simple joy in being the presence of the God who loves you. And we call that contemplation. And she wrote very eloquently about that. We might be gardens that rain on us. So anyway, gosh, already 10 minutes I've been rambling. Sorry about that. Here, should I rattle off some Parish news. Softball, family softball this Sunday, 6 o'clock, behind church. Parish bike ride this Sunday, both this Sunday, be June 1st, be June already, at noon. So the bike ride's at noon, softball's at 6. This Saturday, our first outdoor mass. So 6:30, we'll have our regular 4:30 mass, and then outdoor behind the rectory for our first outdoor mass. Hopefully the weather will dry up and we can have a good time out there. Also, Saturday, I encourage you to do this. I don't usually encourage people not to go to St. James if they're part of St. James. But Bishop Battersby will be in town, part of the Jubilee year, Pilgrims of Hope. He's going to different centers in the diocese and celebrating Mass on a weekend. And this is that weekend, and he's doing it at Sacred Heart Church across the river. So you can attend Mass with Bishop Battersby if you'd like, at 4 p.m. at Sacred Heart. And at 2 o'clock, if you'd like to go hear a good talk, I'm sure it'll be great, by Father Daniel Sedlacek. 2 o'clock, also at Sacred Heart, with an hour of adoration of the Blessed Sacrament. And I think the priest will be available for confessions. I'll be here on our own at St. James, so I won't be there for that. But continue to feel good about our confirmation from back on May 9th when the bishop was here. I responded to, before they confirmed, the students write me a letter about why they want to be confirmed, what name they chose, who their sponsor was, why they want to be confirmed. And by far the most common thing they say is they want to deepen their faith. And I think that's interesting, and I wonder what that means to them. Do they want to believe with more certainty? Do they want to think about God more as part of their daily life? Do they want to form a habit of being at church all the time? Do they want to... I'm thinking it's probably that second one more. They just want maybe to feel close to God more and have God's presence make a difference in the decisions they make. I'm not sure, but it's interesting. I think next year when I interview them all, I'll say, what does it mean to deepen your faith? And see what they say. Then I'll have a clear indication. Anyway, so I responded to, I couldn't find Macy's letter, but I know she wrote me one, so I'll try to dig that out of my mailbox or something. So that's big weekend. So the bishop's here. I talk on Tuesday. We have our 4:30 Mass and our 6:30 Mass. As far as our church renovation goes, so this weekend the pews that were right now they're grinding up and they're cleaning all the floor. You know how we did that in the sanctuary a couple of years ago? They're going to do that over the area now where the new music ministry space will be. And they took out all the pews in that short column of pews in front of the tabernacle. And the back 7 pews will be replaced, so they'll be there. There'll be the temporary seating again, the chairs. So it'll still look, like a place in transition. And then next week, it looks like it'll still be that way. And on Pentecost, June 7th and 8th. And then the next week, June 14th, 15th, probably the organ won't be in place yet, but it looks like the choir will start singing from there maybe that weekend. So I would miss that. I would be, God willing, in the Holy Land that weekend. But that's how that's progressing along. And by that time, Rourke Hall will be all kind of taken apart. The capital campaign, part of that was renovating Rourke Hall. The new kitchen was done last summer. This year it's the flooring, getting rid of the asbestos in the flooring tiles, renovating some of the school classrooms down there with carpeting and better doors and a wall instead of like an accordion divider. So lots going on. Lots going on. Yeah. So the newsletter, I mentioned you'll be getting that real soon. Summerfest, what is it, August 9th, 10th? Second weekend in August, that'll be happening. Raffle tickets are available if you want to get a jump. I don't know if it increases your chance of winning if you buy them early. It does for one. So we have the regular, as many as you want to buy, $5 tickets or 5 for $20. Grand prize on that drawing will be $1,000. And many lesser prizes than that we pull. And then we'll continue with our $100 per ticket, but only 200 will be sold. So that's, if you buy 2 tickets, you have a 1% chance of winning the grand prize of $3,000. That's better than like the other odds. But a bigger capital layout to begin with, right? So those are available now in the parish office. I think we'll start selling the $5 ones after masses in the gathering space, but the $100 ones sold anyway for now, just in the office. So we have 220 families that don't have email. Isn't that interesting? Well, it sounds like it's raining again. We'll see. See if it breaks through the shelter of the leaves. 220 parish families out of about 1,000, 1,050, something like that. They don't have email. I was surprised by that. I would have thought it'd be more like under 100. Receptions for Patrice will be this weekend. So I announced last weekend that Patrice will be stepping off our pastoral, our parish team, our parish staff as pastoral minister. So we can thank her and congratulate her and bless her this weekend. It's been really good to have on staff, but she's going to continue living where she lives and being part of the parish, and so that's a blessing. That's a blessing. Mentioned roll call. Louise wrote she wants more bell ringers. It's her bell choir. Wants to do some summer bell work. So if you want to get into a bell choir, I'd like to do something at St. James. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's be part of the bell choir. Could be. Pray about it. VBS up north, camping theme, July 21st. You can start registering now, I'm sure, through the website. Contact Kelly or Beth if you want to volunteer, if you want your youngster to be part of it. That'd be good. We had our promotion mass today. Because of the work on the church ongoing, unfortunately, it conflicted with the school schedule. I should have had more forethought about that. But they were flexible, and the good people at St. Mary's in Altoona said, sure, you can use our church. So we went over to St. Mary's for a 9 o'clock school mass, and it was really beautiful. It was really great. Sometimes for a special event, it can be actually kind of nice to be in a different space, a new space. Miss Bell gave a beautiful speech and awarded the different awards to our, I would say graduating, but our promoted fifth graders into sixth grade. 3 of them, who was it? Killian and in Ireland, and Kate gave speeches, and they were just wonderful. You know, it's really great to see young people. So these people would be 11 years old. They can give a good speech. I don't know that I could do that when I was 11 years old. I remember losing my voice in 8th grade, giving a speech for the class just because of nerves. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Fairly traumatic. I couldn't finish the speech. I had to sit down. I couldn't get my voice back. Anyway, it didn't happen to these 3. They have really beautiful, funny, meaningful speeches. Good for them, you know. I don't remember any, particular ideas. I should have. I can't give this away because I might preach on this weekend. But Ripken, one of our younger kids, 2nd graders, gave some really good advice. I said, what if you had a child who said this? What would you say to them? And he answered like a pro. I said, you're going to be a good dad someday. Wow. Fake news. Why did I put that on there? I don't know if you do Facebook much or even some YouTube stuff. I mentioned a chat or two ago that I can usually spot fake Pope Francis stuff, and I gave a couple examples. And there's a lot of fake Pope Leo stuff going up now too. And just beware. If it ever feels like it has an ideological edge, like it's putting down a conservative or putting down a liberal, or if it's I don't know, it just sounds too he's American now, so it might be a little harder to spot, but a lot of the Francis stuff was very well written and beautiful ideas very often, it wasn't like awful stuff. But I'm like, Francis doesn't talk like that. That's how I talk. I don't think he, and anyway, I mentioned, but the Pope, this one, I don't really have any examples, but just beware when you see these little shorts that say, with artificial intelligence now, and I notice it mostly on Facebook, and to a lesser extent, those little shorts on YouTube. Did you see the Aaron Rodgers retires speech? I mean, I thought that was real. I'm like, but I thought, no, I got to check this out. Snopes.com, press1.com, I guess our sources you can go to check out if things are real or not. So, but just beware before you share things. Many times, if it's innocent, I don't want to embarrass somebody and tell them, this wasn't really Pope Francis. But usually I want to set the record straight. It's it's a lovely thing to share, but I just want you to know, it's not really him. So what else? Carlo Acutis, Kelly Boudry, our youth and DRE, said his canonization is going to be moved to the 13th of June. So that's nice. It was moved to, he had to be moved because it was on the day Pope Francis, I don't know, it was like shortly after Pope Francis died. So they moved it. I think it was going to be on April 27th, and Pope Francis died on April 21st. So they just announced now it's going to be on June 13th. Hope you had a good Memorial Day. I did. I went to Mom's. Mom really liked over the years, now she's in a memory care place, but she really liked over the years watching the PBS Memorial Day program broadcast from the mall in Washington, D.C. And I thought, I think I'm going to go over early on Sunday and catch her before she goes to bed and see if she wants to watch that. I tried to get it on the big screen, but I just couldn't figure out how to use their TV, because I think the other people there would have they had said they were fine with it if I could find it, but I couldn't figure out their system. So anyway, we went in a room and I got PBS on, and it was good. It's all these stories about veterans from World War II, the ones I saw, World War II and the Korean War and Vietnam, and then the conflicts in the Middle East and their stories. And she was just glued to the TV, and she didn't miss a beat. And what really surprised me, because she does have memory, that's why she's in memory care. Out of nowhere, she goes, "Isn't that Gary Sinise?" I'm like, "Gary Sinise? How do you know him?" He's like an actor. He was in Forrest Gump. I think he wrote a book that Mom liked some time ago, so maybe he's stuck. But he was the co-host of this program. I go, "Yeah, it's Gary Sinise." So, she's full of surprises. And then the next day we went to the cemetery where my sister's body lies and where my dad's body lies, and where, if everything goes according to plan, my body will lie and my mother's. So I think I don't know, I think it's good. I think some people question, like, why would you want to take her to see your daughter's grave if maybe she's forgotten about that, or because that's traumatic. And I was like, well, and that's an interesting point. I felt a little bad after, because I didn't consider that, but I'm not, maybe this is self-centered, I'm not sure we grieved really well when my sister died as a family. And I don't know, just to be able to stand at the grave and have my arm around my mom and hold her hand and then point out, her name and dad right next to it in the grave. To me, it was kind of a soulful, heartful moment. And I didn't get the sense that it was super hard for her. I didn't get the sense that she was really connecting all the dots either, so I don't know. But it's a tradition we've had and unbroken for many, many, many years. So I guess there were years when I was living out of town on Memorial Day. So that was good anyway. I thought I'd finish with some Pope Leo quotes. Kind of take these in. I already mentioned beware fake Pope Leo quotes. But this is based on sort of a homily that he gave last Sunday, if you remember. Whoever loves my word, my Father, and I will dwell in that person. But I just shared this, and this is transcript from his homily, so this is not fake. This is how Pope Leo talks. He goes, "And whatever the Lord calls us to do, in both our daily lives and our journey of faith, there are times when we feel inadequate. But this Sunday's gospel tells us not to rely on our own abilities, but on the mercy of the Lord, who has chosen us, and to be certain that the Holy Spirit guides us and teaches us all things." And he said, "It's wonderful to think that when we consider our individual calling, the situations we encounter and the people entrusted to our care, our commitments, our responsibilities, and our service in the church, each of us can say with confidence, Despite my weakness, the Lord is not ashamed of my humanity. Instead, he comes to dwell within me. He accompanies me with his Spirit. He enlightens me and makes me an instrument of his love for others. I had alluded to that earlier. So, based on that promise, he said, let us resolve to bring the Lord's love everywhere, never forgetting that each of our brothers and sisters is also a dwelling place of God, and that his presence is manifested above all in the little ones, in the poor and the suffering, who ask us to be thoughtful and compassionate Christians. And then he got a little personal. He said, for my part, I would like to express my firm desire to contribute to this great ongoing process of discerning the Spirit of God, what he wants us to do, by listening to everyone as much as possible in order to learn, understand, and decide things together. So that's it's not very, I was gonna say that's code for, I like what Pope Francis did with synodality, these gatherings to listen to different points of view. So he wants to listen as much as possible. That was what Bishop Battersby said when he became bishop a year ago too, and he's lived it out. He goes, I'm just going to be here and listen for a good solid year or more. And he's not going to stop listening, but that was his main goal, to really be in the diocese and listen. And it sounds like the Pope is the same way. Then the last thing he said, St. Pius X, when did he live? I think around 1905, St. Pius X was Pope. He's the one that encouraged. A lot of people were never going to communion because they thought their sins were too great. And he said, you should go to communion. Jesus wants to feed you, So he started encouraging frequent communion for the people. Anyway, he said, St. Pius X, upon entering a Venice church as the Archbishop, exclaimed in that church, what would become of me, dear people of Venice, if I did not love you? A nice thing to say to your people. What would become of me if I did not love you? And then Pope Leo added, I would say something similar to you Romans. He's talking to everybody of Rome in the Cathedral Church of Rome, St. John Lateran. I assure you that I love you, that I desire only to enter into your service and to place my own poor abilities, the little I have and am, at the service of all. I desire only to enter into your service and to place my own poor abilities, the little I have and am, at the service of all. So, God bless you, everybody. As we get close to June and the end of the school year and everything, I'm going to be going over to Regis High School in about a half hour to celebrate the graduation Mass. So, we pray. Loving God, we thank you for our lives. We thank you for great saints like St Teresa of Avila. May her words inspire us, that we can pray, that we can know you with our bodies. Not always crystal clear. You're always beyond our comprehension, but we can receive your love and we can return it. And we thank you for giving us Pope Leo, and we ask you to guide him in his ministry. And we pray for all the hard things going on in the world now, the starvation and violence in Gaza and Ukraine, so many other places. We pray that we not lose our hearts as people, but that the suffering of others will always affect us and make us want to end it. God bless you, everybody. Peace.